AskReddit by cannibalism as vegan. What are some common foods that make you wonder, who was the first weirdo to try eating that? It's always been mushrooms, for me. The process of elimination needed to find safely edible ones. Like this one killed someone, this one peeled back the layers of reality for 8 hours, this one is okay, this one made me shit my insides out for 3 days etc. And this one looks remarkably like the one that killed someone, but rest assured we tried this one and it is safe. There's a Chinese idiom that translates to the first person to eat crab, meaning a very brave person, so I like to think about the person who saw a skittering water spider looking thing and went, that looks great, I'm gonna eat it. Cambodians now eat deep fried tarantulas. They were forced into trying them during the horrific reign of Pol Pot to avoid starvation. Apparently they taste similar to soft-shelled crab. Cheese. It's a good thing they figured it out, too. Came here to say the same thing. My granny used to make cheese, and once she explained what rennet was, I wondered what kind of fatted calf sacrifice her ancestors got up to. Coffee. Who was like, okay, this is gross as is, but if I roast it and put it in hot water it's actually kinda good? Expanding on this, civet coffee. Literally coffee beans pooped out by an animal after eating them. Like, why? Butter. Hey, I'm gonna take this milk and churn the ever-loving shit out of it until something happens. Colton Brown did a thing on this. Some dudes riding a camel put the milk in an animal organ pouch, old school canteen I guess, and when they went to drink it it was all curdled and gross. Apparently only gross to drink, so they're like, this would be rad on some bread or baked potatoes. I'm paraphrasing a bit. Chocolate. There is no way that someone could guess that the goop inside a cocoa bean pod could be made into anything edible. People get hungry, they'll eat anything the cacao bean. Now when you buy Baker's dark chocolate it tells you what percent cacao the chocolate is. Cacao is 100% cacao, who knew? Die Baker's chocolate anything under 48% or it's too bitter, and I like bitter. So PPL just liked bitter chocolate beans. That Italian cheese with live maggots inside it. They were probably so hungry they would have eaten anything. I always wonder about processed foods, like bread. Who was the first person to complete all those steps to get bread? Or toast? Let's bake it again. Artichoke. Someone actually took a bite of a bitter, raw artichoke and said, man, this tastes like shit. Let's cook it and taste it again. But only eat the middle part and then scrape the undersides of the leaves with your teeth for the rest. Oysters. Big pile of snot in a shell. Definitely. First people to eat oysters were starving. Lobster. Lobster used to be given to the poor and damp slaves because it was considered to be a foul meal. It wasn't until way later that people realized how good lobster actually is. My vote goes to durian. Who's the genius that said, hey, this starchy thing in the ground sure looks like it'll be really tasty after I boil the crap out of it, when it came to the potato? I know it comes from South America, but I want to know who that guy or girl was and how they came up with this. Also I would want to blow their mind by saying, instead of just boiling it, cut it into really thin discs and fry it in oil. It gets crunchy and extra yummy. Nuok mam, let's take the smelly sauce from rotting fish and use it on our meal. Probably started as a prank or an assassination attempt. The weirder thing is that fermented fish sauces are pretty common and found all over the place. A lot of people decided to leave fish to rot for months and then cook with the salty smelly liquid. Not a common food, but a native one, the kernel of the caraca berry. It has to be cooked in a hangi for 24 hours or boiled, continuously boiled, for 6-8 hours before they are edible. If not properly prepared, they are highly poisonous. That's up there with fugu. Only a small portion of the fish is actually safe to eat, but an untrained chef or an unclean blade can end up poisoning someone. And the best part is that there is no cure. Geoduck. Looks like penis on the half shell. Real damn difficult to harvest yank out of wet sand. My favorite Dirty Jobs episode is the one where he harvests geoducks in Puget Sound. Who decided that if they mixed a ton of random things plus flour, sugar, and eggs and baked it they would get something delicious? Well, we knew what flour was, we made it. Sugar is an add-on. Ice and cookie dough, just flour, butter and pasteurized eggs. We churned the butter, made the flour. We knew flour rose BC we had bread. One day someone wanted to make eggs with their bread in the oven and it got mashed and got cake, I guess. There is a book titled Food in History that goes through an in-depth look at the foods we eat and how they came into the human diet. Reasons were mostly out of necessity. Ballot. As a kid, seeing relatives nonchalantly eat ballot can really scare you, lol. Worcestershire sauce. They left a bunch of anchovies and other stuff in a barrel and tested it a few months to see if it was any good and discovered it tasted foul. They forgot about the barrel and rediscovered it a few years later and decided to give it a try. That's when they found out it was delicious. That's what the sauce is? I never would have guessed. Shout out to all the people in prehistory who ate random shit. We gotta show people more love who do crap like planking and eating bugs on a dare. It's totally the same genes. Only except for survival purposes. Now it is for the internet likes. Olives. Taste horrible until salted cured, etc. Imo, then they still taste terrible, but my husband disagrees and eats mine happily. Bird's nest soup. Chocolate. The number of steps required to go from cocoa pod to chocolate bar is insane. I have no idea how those steps could have been worked out without knowing the final result was possible a priori. Sea urchin. Something I think a lot of people are missing here is that a great deal of these firsts were us noticing other animals eating those things. We definitely have a different physiology, and not everything they eat can be eaten by us, but it's still a pretty good chance for early humans that if they saw a wolf or whatever eating something, they can probably eat that too. One thing that set humans apart was our development of language and stories, allowing us to pass on knowledge observed in our lifetime to each other and to future generations.